welcome to Madrid and the new-ish Meridian Regional at the Caja Mágica. Brandon Domain, Matt Jakobsen with you. And we say it's new-ish because we've had that split of Europe and Meridian, and because of that and the team competition, the word of the weekend is opportunity.
It really is. There are so many opportunities here, both for the teams that have been sending, the boxes that have been sending teams to the games in the past, but also there are a lot of new boxes with a lot of talent. They're going to be out here trying to, well, show off their talent and their box as well.
Yeah, only 4 of the 30 teams here this weekend were at regionals 1 year ago, and we speak of the opportunity that comes for those 4 spots that will come out of this regional, the 9 total that they were used to from a year ago compared to those 5, but we're also seeing 60 teams now making it to regionals, 30 from Europe, 30 from Meridian. We're seeing more nations represented here this weekend as well.
We are. I mean, we took a walk through the warm-up area, and you're hearing all kinds of different languages, you're hearing all kinds of different setups, you're hearing a lot of spectators out there firing themselves up in different ways. It's going to be an international crowd with a bunch of opportunities here, yes.
And the opportunity starts right here, right now, bright and early at the Caja Mágica as we're ready for event number 1 of the weekend. And it's been a test that has absolutely just befuddled a lot of teams out here with that handstand walk.
It has. It's kind of like hitting the wall and then negotiating your way around it. That handstand walk has been putting people in all kinds of trouble, and it's also, however, opened the doors to a lot of teams that just figured it out prior to walking onto the floor what they were going to do.
Yeah, we've really seen some teams make a move up the leaderboard early because of this first event of the weekend.
So the first event is a male-female relay with 25 overhead squats, 150 double unders, then as a relay, a handstand walk. The time cap is 17 minutes.
Yep, the weights for the men this first time through, about 135 pounds, 62 kilos, 95 pounds for the female athletes starting, about 43 kilos, 155 is about 70 kilos, and then 115, about 52 kilos, rounding out the weights as our teams take the floor for the very first time this weekend here in Madrid. And we're seeing every team here in this one getting what most likely for all of these athletes is their first experience on the floor.
It is, and it's a daunting task. You walk in here, it's kind of on your way to the big show. It's a bigger show than a lot of these people have been at before, so obviously there will be a little bit of nerve. At the same time, once you step on the floor, you just kind of got to get into your plan of the things that you talked about to start with and not care too much about anything else.
So our first 10 teams here in heat number 1 will have a field of 9, as we had one team not able to appear out of those original 30 that we had in the field. One team that did pretty well in the open, the only team here out of the top 500 in the world out of Toulouse, France, Crossfit Riviera.
And I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got. Like we talked about it in the show a little bit earlier, the community in France is just going crazy. It's exploding. A lot of new boxes, a lot of new talent being drawn into the boxes as well. Looking forward to seeing if that is spilled into the teams as well.
Teams staging their lanes, getting the jump ropes ready, as we are just a few moments away from kicking off the weekend.
30 seconds.
And this is when these athletes just need to focus on the task ahead. Can't look at anything else right now. Just remember what we agreed in the warm-up area.
Now, if this is your first appearance out here on the floor, what are you trying to communicate to the team once we get started in this event?
10 seconds.
Basically, just stay in your lane, stick to the guns.
Stand by.
And the weekend is underway at the Meridian Regional. 4 spots up for grabs after all 6 events here this weekend.
And it's going to be interesting to see how these teams do. This isn't the weight on the overhead squats that should get anybody in trouble, but what they do want to do is set themselves up for success a little bit further on. So, you know, I want to see a good overhead positioning. I want to see a steady pace. I don't want to see anybody throwing down as hard as they can to start with and then finding themselves out of juice in the shoulders as they move on to the handstand walk.
Again, on this first relay, all athletes doing 25 overhead squats, all athletes doing 150 double unders. The thing that will change is the weight on the bar for each athlete.
And that's when you start thinking about how the teams are going to stack, how the teams have stacked themselves. I mean, who do you send out there first? Is it like I said, the weight shouldn't be a problem to any of these guys, and we see a couple of the or some of the guys are already finishing up as we speak right now.
It'll be CrossFit Minimay in the white shirt, white headband, center of the screen, lane number 6 out in front, including in lane number 9, Canarias, Team CrossFit out of Las Palmas, Spain. In lane 8 will be the second team. Here's a look at We Are Athletic, one of the first 3 teams to make their way to the double unders.
And what you want to look at when you're looking at the double unders is basically the athlete using their wrists to propel the rope forward. You want to keep the arms fairly close. As soon as the arms start coming out and you start seeing your forearm being used a lot, the shoulder is also going to take a beating. Early
leader is CrossFit Minimay, team out of France, 471st in the world coming out of the Open, the 12th seed out of Europe South.
And I think we're going to see. A lot. I mean, we're seeing a lot of great French athletes this year, but I also see in years to come, just because the community is going. It's just exploding right there. I mean, we're attracting a lot of talent from other sports, but also there are a lot of people who've been doing CrossFit for a long time, kind of growing up with it.
Lane number 8, gray shirt, blue shorts that you saw in that shot a moment ago. That is the new leader out of Canaria Team CrossFit. We Are Athletic Frehu, the 3rd team to make their way to the second segment of 75. You do note that they did take that step forward, as there's our early leader with a bit of a smile to the camera. As you'll note, by the way, while they're doing these double unders, they'll do 75 in one box, advance forward for the second set of 75 within 150.
And that's another one of the things that you need to think about if you haven't been here before. There are a lot of formalities that need to be in place.
2:29, the opening split for your leaders out of Canaria. And they will advance their first female athlete to the bar, getting a no rep right out of the gate with this 95-pound, 43-kilo bar.
And so the female athlete from the Canarias right here, she's doing really well at keeping the bar overhead, focusing focusing forward, not on anybody else, not faced by the no rep. That's what you want to see. You want to balance that bar as good as you possibly can, not moving it too far forward, too far back, and then getting a good lockout on the elbows so you don't have to tax your shoulders, knowing that you're going to use the shoulders in a second.
8 of the 9 teams here in this heat have advanced to their first female athlete onto the floor. Now make it all 9 of 9. The leader after the first athlete in this opening relay of the weekend, Canarias Team CrossFit. In lane number 8, there they are on the right side of their screen. CrossFit Minimay, the second team, about 3 or 4 seconds back after the first athlete.
And I think that pace on the overhead squat's going to cost Canarias Team CrossFit right here. And I think Minimay is going to move ahead because she was really fast.
Very comfortable on the overhead squats, and that comfort's going to put 2 teams ahead of Canarias and maybe a few more, as We Are Athletic with the multicolor pants, bottom of the screen, the new leading team. Second place will be CrossFit Minimay, the black shirt, white shorts in lane number 6. And Canarias might have found themselves all the way down to 4th or 5th.
And this is what happens. If the weight's not going to be a problem, but you still need to have a consistent pace as you're banging these reps out. If you get a little bit too slow, I feel like this is going to eat you up and somebody else is going to come ahead.
We're seeing a very deliberate approach on these double unders, which we normally talk about the style. We don't talk so much about the pacing of this with 150, but we're seeing a few people break this up into smaller sets than what we've typically seen over the past couple weeks.
And I mean, if you're not super comfortable with the double unders and you know that your shoulders may be a little bit of an issue on the handstand walk, that may be a smart thing to do. A small break is not going to be a problem. However, if you're breaking it because you're not comfortable with this amount of double unders, then you need to, fill that hole at a later stage.
Our top 2 teams are no longer in the top 3 as we advance through the double unders here with our first female athlete. On the left side is We Are Athletic Frehu, with the leading athlete, Tanka, and the right side of the screen has moved into the second position. Also have CrossFit Alioth making their way through their second set of 75 within this chunk of 150 reps.
And we've seen in weeks past how this changes really, really fast. I mean, in the first part of this event, leads will come and go. Once we get to the handstand, that's where it's really all decided whether you can or can't do it.
5:24 the split time for We Are Athletic. It'll be a 4-second lead for them over Tonka in lane number 7 with their athlete in the black shirt, gray shorts, and Alioth rounding out our top 3 as we're halfway through this first of 2 relays here in event number 1.
And with that being said, it could still change in lane number 2 right here. We Are Athletic Fréjus. I think if you look at the male athlete, that's a bit slow considering that some of the other athletes out here on the floor are moving a lot faster. On the right, on the left side in lane number 4, CrossFit Alioth's male athlete just going faster. And it looks like he's going to be able to go unbroken as well.
Keep in mind here in this second male athlete portion of the relay, the rep scheme is the same. Still 25 overhead squats, 150 double unders. The weight has increased 20 pounds to 155 pounds, or about 70 kilos.
But as you and I talked about a second ago, Brendan, what we want to see is setting yourself up for success for the second part of the event.
It'll be CrossFit Alioth in the white shirt, black shorts, leading the way. Tonka in lane number 7, black shirt, gray shorts, top of those blue lanes in second place. So yet another lead change here on another of these relay portions of this event. We've seen several lead changes throughout this opening portion in an event that normally you have a team get out in front, and it comes down to the handstand walk.
This is true. That being said, I'm not surprised to see this as either, though. The reason for that is that these teams have had the luxury of watching 2 weeks of regional competition, so they know that they don't necessarily have to be super stressed on the initial part of the event. It's all decided once you get to the handstand walk.
75 reps down, 75 reps to go for the second male athlete for Alioth, also for Tonka. Alioth, the lone team here in this heat, out of the United Arab Emirates, coming out of Dubai. Tonka coming out of Colombes, France.
And I mean, it's just, as we talked about before, hearing all kinds of languages in the warm-up area, they're just such an international field.
In fact, in this heat, we have 6 different nations alone out of the 9 teams represented. And Tonka will move on to the final athlete in this opening relay at the 8-minute and 12-second mark. And this is going to be a significant lead as nobody else has a judge's hand up in the final 75 reps of that set of 150.
So this is a heavier weight for the second female athlete than it was for the first athlete. And what I want to see is I want to see her be consistent as she's navigating that 155-pound bar. She doesn't necessarily have to go unbroken, but I do want to see her be decisive and not have to fight it out, because she's the one who gets the least rest before the handstand walk.
So 115 pounds, about 52 kilos on the bar. This is a slow, deliberate pace, but looks pretty smooth in terms of the motion.
Exactly, and if she can keep that going, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily be worried if she starts breaking this set up. I just want to make sure that, you know, she gets to go and sets everybody up for success.
So it's Tonka 1. They were 16 seconds clear of Alioth in second, and Miname has made their way back into third after fading after the opening portion of this relay.
And on the top of your screen, you also have the female athletes from Team Canadia's Team CrossFit, and she's going faster in overhead squats with a beautiful overhead position. Hasn't quite caught up, but she's putting herself into contention again.
16-second interval goes away like that as we check in on Canarias. As you saw, the athletes for Tonka and Alioth move to the double unders for the final time. Final 5 for Canarias, who's making their way back into the picture. Again, it's Alioth on the left, Tonka on the right, and I'm seeing a lot more comfortable style on this double under with the hand positioning for the athlete out of Alioth.
Definitely, just nice hands, fast hands, making sure to keep composed, keep tension through the body throughout the entire revolution of the jump rope, and she's saving her shoulders a lot. What we're seeing on the right-hand side isn't necessarily bad, however. She's always done it that way. Don't change before the regional events.
only about 3 or 4 seconds separating them as they go past the halfway point. So this is the race to who will get to the handstand walk first, and then it's anything goes from there. So we're waiting for a judge's hand to go up in the final few reps, and as we go to the handstand walk, and we will do that now for Alioth at 11 minutes and 6 seconds. What's the strategy from this point?
So it kind of depends on what the team consists of. What kind of skills did you bring? If you know that you're going to have somebody out there who's going to struggle with the handstand walk, make sure to get everybody else through so that they get more rest before they need to go. But also making sure that if they don't make it, you're leaving as few points as possible on the floor.
Two teams working on the handstand walk. Neither has been able to navigate this opening obstacle, but for Tonka, well, take that back. Here we go to the halfway point. Both hands have to clear that yellow line, and he's good, and he's going to try to go unbroken for the entire length. Making his way up the incline ramp. All that's left is the downward staircase. Both hands will have to clear the red line behind and give the lead to Tonka.
Very impressive handstand walk. Beautiful.
Still 5 minutes until the 17-minute time cap. We saw a heavy scorpion-style handstand walk there for the athlete out of Alioth. Now, you do notice that the switch happens if you've been watching the first couple weeks. Up until you get to the halfway point, that first yellow line, you are able to switch. Once you pass that, if you're unable to keep going, you're out on an island by yourself.
You are in a very small boat in a very big ocean. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, you want to make sure that these teams, as they walk in, obviously they have a plan. That being said, until the first obstacle is cleared, make sure that everybody on that team is ready to adjust in case somebody needs more rest or feel like, you know, I just don't have it right now.
Third team to the handstand walk is one of our early leaders, Miname. And they're going to be the second team to have somebody navigate that first obstacle. He'll come down after clearing that yellow line. So the yellow line is now a restart point where both hands have to be behind that line before kicking up, similar to what we saw in the open.
And it's a race right here for second and third.
So Miname will make their way across, but also in lane number 8, we will have Canaria, Team CrossFit, with their first finisher, and two of our early leaders are right back into the mix.
They are, and what we're seeing is that if you have a scorpion kind of approach to the handstand walk where your legs aren't really tightened up and you're not moving as one unit, you find yourself struggling on this, especially the stairs coming over the obstacle right now.
CrossFit Alioth about to have their first athlete. If he can control it, he's got to watch that hand nearly getting outside the lane, but he's going to get a good rep, and it's going to be one complete for 4 teams. So 4 teams in the lead with 1 athlete completing the handstand walk, and we're going to be halfway through for the second athlete of Alioth. So give Alioth the lead now as we're 2.5 minutes away from the time cap.
And we said it can change all the time. It's the handstand walk that's the decider.
Heading up the incline, and that's been something that's been eating some of these athletes up. Once they get past that first one, you almost kind of relax a little bit, and then you have that incline, which a lot of the people have said, in hindsight, that's been the hardest part of this obstacle course.
Absolutely. A lot of these athletes are used to moving fast in the handstand walk. Navigating obstacles, not so much. And if you want to navigate it, what you want to make sure is that your legs are tight, that you have a tension so that your entire body moves as one. If you're just kind of scorpion hanging your legs forward, as soon as you get a little bit of deviation to the left and to the right, instead of just having to lean forward, you find yourself in trouble.
Spinning out of that dismount for Tonka. Less than 2 minutes remaining. We still have 1 athlete complete for Alioth, for CrossFit Miname, Tonka, and Canarias Team CrossFit.
Alioth is looking like they're about to finish off. Just needs to cross the line.
Hang on to this, trying to stabilize, and they're going to give it to him. Both hands crossed the line before he came down. They're going to give it to him, and that's by the narrowest of margins. He sells out on that one, and Alioth will have the lead with a full athlete lead compared to the rest of the field. You'll notice that it's been only men thus far that have completed this course, but we now have our first female finisher for 962 Avenger. She just crossed the line. Nearly getting to the halfway point for Alioth was their third athlete. It would be their first female athlete to get to the halfway point, as we're less than 1 minute away from the time cap. And a team that we haven't mentioned this entire time is Mad Hunters. They have one athlete already across, one athlete past the halfway point, and if they send this second athlete across, they wind up tied for the lead.
And so they put themselves right back in contention. Took it easy on the initial part of the event, but now making a move.
Final 30 seconds. If he can make his way down the staircase and hang on, and he's unable to, he's got time for maybe one more shot at this, and this would be for the lead with 2 heats remaining. Now maybe he did have time for 2 shots with how quick he turned around, but maybe he needed a little bit more rest before kicking up.
It just wasn't there.
3, 2, 1.
And the horn sounds to close our opening heat of the weekend and give the unofficial heat win and the provisional lead to CrossFit Alioth, who will send across 2 of their 4 athletes on the handstand walk. We did have 5 teams send 1 athlete across. There were a couple more that maybe had 1.5 if we want to go to that point, but obviously that's going to be a little bit looser. But what we do know is CrossFit Alioth leading the way after our opening heat of the weekend with 2 of 4 athletes complete.
And Alioth did a great job. I mean, when we saw him to start with, they were taking it easy. They were in the lead a little bit, but then they fell back, but they didn't look phased by it. You could tell that their entire plan was to do good on the handstand walk, make sure that they get there rested and composed as a team.
They never had the lead until the end of the opening relay. We saw 4 different teams lead after each athlete went through that portion. Alioth took the lead on their 4th and final member, and then they never looked back from there.
30 seconds. Bar, 61 kilos approximately. Once the athlete's done, they will move forward to that double understation, 75 repetitions at each station to a total of 150. Touch the chest piece and release the next athlete. That will be a female athlete, and their bar will weigh 95 pounds, which is approximately 43 kilograms, and they will go through exactly the same rep scheme. Then it will again be a male athlete and then finish off with a female athlete. The second male athlete will be using 70 kilos, so 155 pounds. And the second female athlete will be using 115 pounds, which is approximately 51 kilos. CrossFit Riviera in that previous heat was the team that got the furthest here in this event. Number 1, they got 2 athletes across the finish line within that 17-minute time cap. The time to beat in the world was set by Code 3 San Diego at the West Regional last weekend at 12 minutes and 9 seconds.
Recordamos que en este segundo hit tenemos dos equipos españoles en la calle número 8, Crossfit Las Rozas, y en la calle número 10 del 21-15-9 Team. Ya tenemos el primer miembro masculino que ha terminado. Ellos son la calle número 4, CrossFit Valley Road.
Lane 6, CrossFit take control. The first male athlete across that halfway mark. He touches the chest piece, and their first female athlete is out on the floor. In lane 4, CrossFit Valley Road. Also that first female out on the floor. And lane 8 and 10 also, CrossFit Las Rozas and 21-15-9 team on those overhead squats. Lane 8, CrossFit Las Rozas, their female athlete advancing to that second section on the floor, which means she has 75 reps to go. CrossFit Valley Road, their female athlete, also lane 4, advancing to that second section on the floor. So it looks like these two teams are your leaders here, so lanes 8 and 4.
Recordamos que el mejor tiempo de la primera pareja en terminar los overhead squats y los double unders es de 5 minutos y 4 segundos. Y el mejor tiempo de la segunda pareja es de 10 minutos y 13 segundos. Solo la primera parte.
Lane number 8, CrossFit Las Rozas. Their second male athlete, on the floor on those overhead squats. He has less than 25 reps to go before he advances to the double unders. But CrossFit Valley Road, their male athlete, also moving quick through these overhead squats.
Ya tenemos al equipo en la calle número 10 de 21-15-9, dando comienzo a la segunda pareja.
These teams at the Meridian Regional have come either from the Africa region or the Europe South region, and we've combined the best athletes from both regions to compete here for the 4 spots to make it into Madison and the 2018 CrossFit Games.
Se cumplen ahora mismo 6 minutos y 30 segundos desde el comienzo. Tenemos varios equipos ya empezando con las segundas parejas en los doubles, mientras otras parejas aún se han quedado retrasadas.
Lane 4, CrossFit Valley Road, their male athlete in the red shorts, black shirt. Looking very steady on these double unders, and he might be the first male athlete out of this second wave to finish their portion. But CrossFit Las Rosas on lane 8 is also not far behind. And it's going to be Valley Road, lane 4. They are a little bit ahead of Las Rosas on lane 8. That male athlete in the black short, white t-shirt. About 10-15 seconds behind of Valley Road is CrossFit Las Rosas on lane 8.
Ya tenemos a TJ en los overhead squats. Último miembro femenino del equipo de CrossFit Las Rozas. Pero aún nada está decidido porque parece ser, como hemos visto en el primer hit, que este evento lo decide el Handstand Walk.
So after 3 athletes, CrossFit Valley Road on lane 4 was leading the way, with CrossFit Las Rosas on lane 8 holding on to the second place in the heat. Also lane 2, Team White City, their second female athlete who did really strong in the overhead squats as the athletes of the other lane struggle a little bit. So Team White City lane 2, keep your eye on them. They might be coming from behind here.
Recordamos que son 17 minutos de time cap. Estamos en los 9 minutos 30. 7 minutos y medio para completar la carrera de obstáculos de Handstand Walk y los double unders que les quedan.
Still in the lead though, lane 4, CrossFit Valley Road, their female athlete on that last set of 75 double unders. We've just hit the 10-minute mark here in this event number 1. 17-minute time cap. And the score to beat here at the Meridian Regional is 2 athletes across the line. That was set by CrossFit Riviera in the previous heat. And it's going to be CrossFit Take Control on lane 6, who passes CrossFit Valley Road on those double unders, but Valley Road lane 4. Their first male athlete looking really strong on the handstands, and he's cleared his first section.
Ya tenemos al primer equipo adelantado en el Handstand Walk, que ellos son CrossFit Valley Road en la calle número 4. Le sigue muy de cerca CrossFit Take Control en la calle número 6.
Lane 4, CrossFit Valley Road, their first athlete across the line, and second athlete is already on the way as well. So still holding on to the lead here in this heat number 2. CrossFit Valley Road, lane 4, and their second male athlete is going unbroken on these obstacles, and he gets across the line. Now CrossFit take control on lane 6, also their first athlete across the line. Lane 4, CrossFit Valley Road, their first female athlete has one section cleared on the obstacle course. As lane 6, CrossFit Take Control, also has their first female athlete done with the first section of the obstacle course. On lane 2, Team White City has their first athlete also across the line. 13 minutes have passed, 4 minutes to go until the time cap. Lane 6, CrossFit Take Control, second athlete across the line. And now lane 4, CrossFit Valley Road, 3 athletes across the line. Lane 5, Team Crash gets their first athlete across the line and done with the handstand walk. Lane 2, Team White City, 2 athletes across the line.
Y el primer miembro de CrossFit Las Rozas en la calle número 8 finaliza el obstáculo de Handstand Walk.
Team Crash on lane 5, 2 athletes across the line. Team White City on lane 2 has 3 athletes across the line. So right now, CrossFit Valley Road, lane 4, was leading the way for a long time in this heat. Now lane 2, White City catching up. And also Team Crash has 3 athletes across the line. So it's gonna come down to White City, Valley Road, and Crash.
Dos minutos para el time cap. Hay que destacar que muy pocos equipos han conseguido finalizar este evento. Si no me equivoco, han sido unos 30 equipos en lo que llevamos de regionales. Calle número 8, TJ García, a punto de finalizar el primer obstáculo en Handstand Walk.
90 seconds to go. One minute.
Últimos 50 segundos.
.30 seconds. Please make some noise for these athletes, ladies and gentlemen. ...10 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1. That does it for heat number 2. 3 teams got 3 athletes across the line. Team White City, CrossFit Valley Road, and Team Crash. We will have to go back to that split time from the first portion, that overhead squat double under portion, to see which one of these teams took the heat. But one of them definitely set the new score to beat here at the Meridian Regional.
Our top 10 teams coming out of the Open, and we will see a couple of teams that are definitely those prime contenders coming out of this weekend, and including our #1 team out of Europe in the Open, CrossFit Norte Redondela in lane number 5.
And keep an eye on Turicum and Riviera as well. Decisive minds here. Somebody's looking forward to this.
And away we go. We had 3 teams in heat number 2 leading the way as they completed 3 of the 4 athletes on the handstand walk. So that is the score to beat.
It is, and as we've seen in the previous regionals that have been, and as we've seen in previous heats here as well, it's not decided who the winner is on the initial part of the event. However, you can set yourself up for success in the early parts here. What you want to do is you want to make sure you have that solid overhead position, nice lockout, and then get a good good pace on the overhead squat. And with a good pace, I mean controlled, not going too fast.
Speaking of control, we saw a couple of very wobbly reps here in lane number 4 for CrossFit Galileo.
And I mean, he does look comfortable. Those knees are just shooting in and then shooting back out again, but he's still knocking them out.
But out in front, lane number 5, CrossFit Norte Redondela in the green shirt, black shorts. There he is in the center of the screen. Second place was CrossFit Riviera in lane number 8.
And we've seen the leads change a lot on the first portion of the event, and that's not necessarily because somebody does well or somebody doesn't do as well. A lot of these teams, we've heard them talk about it in the warm-up area as well, not too phased by the initial part. What they want to make sure is that they show up for the latter part, the handstand walk, and that they're fresh for that. Nice transition right there.
75 reps down. You do have the option when you advance to the next segment of the floor for their final 75 within that set of 150 that you can jump forward to it. However, if you do 75 or 76 and you're still in that first box, that is a no rep.
Exactly, and so it looked practiced, and that's what happens after you've had the luxury of looking at the other regionals and seeing, well, they did this, they did that, I want to try to mimic it. I think that would work out well for our team as well.
And that might be the first break for Norte Redondela's lead athlete, and there he will make the touch at 2:07, by far the fastest opening split we've seen.
That is a blistering pace. I'm looking forward to seeing how the female athlete does here. And what you're seeing is some of these athletes have a wider grip on the barbell, some would have a more narrow grip. The wider grip is going to tax your shoulders a little bit. However, it does shorten the lever from your shoulders to the barbell, which makes it easier to navigate. And especially as you're going faster, a shorter lever will serve you well.
It is a 20-second lead for Norte Redondela, and they are ahead of the event record pace. That event record set 1 week ago by Code 3 San Diego out in really a hometown field for them out in Del Mar. 12 minutes, 9.53 seconds. They were through their first split at 2:28, but again, it is very, very early in this one.
And what you need to remember is, I mean, this could be, I'm not saying that the Norte Redondela is going to do this, but it is smart considering that the tiebreaker is the overhead squats and the double under. So if you know that you may be struggling on the handstand walk, make sure to get there really, really fast, because you may be tying up other teams in the same position.
Second place team after that first athlete on the relay continues to be second place. Getting into the double unders, that is Cape CrossFit Wolfpack one of just 4 teams in the field this weekend that sent a team here 1 year ago. They were the 24th place finisher at the Meridian Regional 2017.
And we've talked a lot about past experience of being at these events. That being said, since the team format is different, we've only got 4 athletes in each team now. It's still a different beast. However, some of the experiences of being here at this venue, seeing teams before, may calm you down just a little bit.
Left side of the screen, the leader through one of their first 4 athletes, CrossFit Norte Redondela. On the right side of the screen, second place through the first athlete, Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. They continue to hold the 1 and 2 spots.
And this is where it's just so important to be efficient on your double unders. You want to make sure to expend as little energy as possible, maintaining focus on what lies ahead and opening up the field to everybody else. And you see on the right side of the screen, the CrossFit Wolfpack female athlete. Her arms are coming out pretty wide. She's bending her legs. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's going to cost her some energy.
Good news for her is she's going to have a little bit of time before getting to that handstand walk, if she's even the first one to go out. And 4:32 through athlete number 2 for Norte Redondela, still 30 seconds clear of the event record pace.
It is very impressive, and look at same thing here, just very solid technique on those overhead squats.
Same rep scheme, 25 squats, 150 double unders. The weight increases 20 pounds. It goes to 155 pounds, about 70 kilos on the bar for the second male athlete. And for Cape CrossFit, he went into a full snatch on that first rep. That does count because technically, yes, you are below parallel if you catch it below, and you do stand it up. That is an overhead squat.
This is true, and he's going fast. Look at that pace right there. And now, normally that could worry some coaches. However, if you look at his technique, that overhead position is rock solid.
Top 3 after the first of 4 athletes is the top 3 after the second of 4 athletes in our opening relay. Norte Redondela, Cape CrossFit Wolfpack, CrossFit Riviera continue to be 1, 2, 3, but that interval has gone from about 25 seconds down to less than 5, as we are seeing a huge speed difference for the 3rd athlete out of Cape CrossFit on the right compared to the 3rd athlete for Norte Redondela on the left.
And not just on the overhead squats. If you look at these double unders, they are very fast, utilizing his wrists very well to gain a lot of momentum on that jump rope, meaning he doesn't have to jump that high either to get the 2 revolutions. They really did save a powerhouse for last in the Wolfpack.
Final 5 within that set of 75, and it's going to be about a 1 second differential first to second into our final 75 reps on the double unders for our 3rd of 4 athletes. This pace, it almost seems like they're almost moving too fast compared to what we've seen with the event record even. This is going to be a risky pace going into those handstand walks.
It really is. That being said, they have had the chance to work on the event for a longer period of time, so they know exactly how fast they're supposed to go. And he looks unfazed too. Still same good technique. Elbows haven't started wobbling too much. He's not jumping higher. And there's judges' hands go in the air.
15 seconds quicker than the event record pace. The first team to go sub-7 through 3 athletes onto the 4th and final one. And now we're going into a back rack position and driving it back up. That's not a bad thing just to stabilize it, but I want to see where these reps go from here. 115 pounds, about 52 kilos on the bar.
I mean, she did look pretty solid on the first reps, and it may just be that she's trying to save her shoulders a little bit. I mean, if you snatch that weight, if you go into the straight squat snatch and you're not super comfortable with that weight, you're going to have to fight to bring it back. Completely unnecessary. They've got a good lead, and she looks pretty solid.
This is your top 2. About 5 seconds separate them, but the fastest person on the overhead squats right now is actually on our 3rd place team, CrossFit Riviera, who might be making a move on these 2, which are going on a little bit of a slower pace, but they do have about a 20-25 second advantage.
Lanes 5 and 7, hands are up in the air.
Norte Redondela will be the first team to break to the double unders for the final time. Final 5 reps, and the reps are now complete on the overhead squats for Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. Only a few reps remaining for CrossFit Riviera.
This is impressive, very impressive. Now, we have seen these leads change as you get to the handstand walk, so I want to keep that in mind. However, I mean, you got to love it as a team when you come out to a blistering pace like that. A good start, solid reps. I mean, you got to love that.
Only about 15 seconds separate your top 3, getting into the final set of 150 double unders. And these are quick reps for Norte Redondela.
Very. Oh, and she did the same transition right there, just jumping forward and not skipping a beat.
Love what she did too, where she moved all the way to the front of the box before that 75th rep. So when she jumped from 75 to 76, it was almost just moving in a normal rep.
But only a few reps behind is Kate Crossfit Wolfpack. This is going to come down to the hands.
That's an interesting technique. Arms are pretty far out, and that's going to tax the shoulders a little bit. But then again, as we alluded to earlier, she may not be the first athlete onto the handstand walk and gets a little bit of a chance to recover.
We are still way ahead of the event record pace. Of course, the handstand walks will be the deciding factor, but nearly 1 minute faster than the event record pace. 10:13 was the time getting through that opening relay for code 3. The event record holders, 9:23 for Norte Redondela. And it comes down to how well can you walk upside down.
A little bit of a tentative pace right here, and I think that's smart. Don't stress yourself on the handstand walk. That being said,
just like that, there goes the lead. Both hands cross the yellow line for both athletes out of Norte Redondela and Cape CrossFit. Cape CrossFit with a quicker turnaround. He's going to make his way up the incline ramp, head down the staircase, and Cape CrossFit will once again find themselves out in the front.
that is very well executed right there. Nice job.
Norte Redondela's athlete having to take a second shot at the second half of our handstand obstacle walk. That is allowed. Once you clear that yellow line, that's your restart point. First female athlete complete with the halfway point for Cape CrossFit.
Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking.
Off camera, as we had Norte Redondela's athlete fall about a foot away from the red line at the finish.
And I like what I'm seeing right here of that handstand technique. As we talked about before, as the more tension you have in your legs, the easier it's going to be to navigate that left to right kind of transition on the handstand walk. If you're walking as in a kind of more of a scorpion approach, that's going to be a lot harder.
Cape CrossFit through two athletes, and they have taken a clear lead over the rest of the field. In fact, we still just have two teams on the handstand walk at this point, as Riviera has faded from that close-in on the overhead squats. Make it three teams on the handstand walk as CrossFit Galileo, red shorts, they're about to take the second position, crossing their first athlete across the line.
Nice, and it's gonna change so many ways now.
CrossFit PBM Unite with an athlete crossing the line. So now we're seeing the shift happen. This is a lot more like what we've seen in the first 2 weeks as opposed to what we saw in the first two heats earlier.
And we still have in the middle of your screen red shorts, black t-shirt. That's Cape CrossFit's male athlete. That'll be the third athlete coming over the handstand obstacle right here.
And unofficially give them the event lead as they had that event record pace on that early relay. The event record won't fall. That's 10 seconds away. But they are through three, being the fourth team to do so. Two athletes across for CrossFit Galileo. Here is their third, as he clears the halfway point, and they're in the mix here for an event win.
Nothing is done, nothing is said yet. We know that this can change so many ways. All you need is one slip up on the handstand walk, being sent back, having to do it again.
Final athlete for Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. Little hesitant trying to go up that step.
She's getting a couple pointers from the rest of her team right now. She just really needs to stay focused, not get phased by how everybody else is doing right now. Make sure that she gets a good position, leans forward, and then just move on methodically.
Two athletes completed for Galileo, two athletes complete for Riviera, who's made their way right back into it again. Three athletes complete in lane number 6 for CrossFit PBM Unite.
This is a brilliantly designed event.
CrossFit Galileo with 3. We're still 3.5 minutes away from the time cap, and it's anybody's ball game out of 3 teams with 3 athletes complete.
And what the teams will usually have done is have saved that last person who is not super proficient in the handstand walk or doesn't feel super comfortable with the handstand walk, and now it's up to them.
Final athlete to have the handstand walk for Cape CrossFit. There she is in the pink shorts. We also have a final athlete for CrossFit Galileo and a final athlete for PBM Unite, who in the white top, green shorts, left side of the screen.
So we're at 14 minutes right now.
And this has got to be a frustrating feeling with 3 minutes to go. The last one left, you are completely on an island as the rest of your team is on the finish mat.
And that's when the rest of the team needs to remember to be supportive. It's easy to get kind of carried away and start yelling and giving good advice. That's not what you need. You need inner calm right now.
White shirt, green shorts. Oh, that was PBM getting up the steps but unable to make that transition point. As we have 3 teams with 1 athlete remaining.
So we're still looking at Galileo, PBM Unite, and Cape CrossFit Wolfpack, and their last athletes trying to get through this obstacle course.
Both PBM and Cape CrossFit sending at the same time, unable to get through that obstacle. 2 minutes remain until our time cap.
And these athletes are going to have to keep on working on this. I mean, we did listen to the brief this morning, and the Adrian Bosman was adamant. You need to keep on working, attempting to finish the event, even if you feel like you can't. I love the way this event has been programmed. It's just, you can't hide anything. Everything is going to be exposed. And there's so much going into both planning and execution.
Final athlete for CrossFit Galileo, one of 3 that have taken about 6 or 7 shots at this opening half of the handstand walk, unable to do so. If anybody gets to the halfway point out of the teams with 3 complete, they will take the event lead in our final minute towards our 17-minute time limit.
One minute to go.
And there's still time. There's still time for a couple of tries. We know that once you get going, it doesn't have to take that long. That being said, a lot of these athletes have had several attempts already.
Now you're thinking about 10 seconds if you're quick through it, probably about 15, 20 seconds. So at this point, we got 40 seconds remaining. Do you possibly rest until about 16:40 to give it one last good shot?
Well, I would. It's easy to get carried away, and then as soon as you start going faster than you're technically capable of, you're going to fall anyways. So rest it out just a little bit and then give it the best shot you've got.
Galileo working on it, unable to get clear through the stairs. Cape CrossFit unable to get past the stairs, and we're going to have 6 teams, it appears, that will wind up at 3 of 4 completing the handstand walk. And nobody unable to beat the time cap, or nobody able to beat the time cap.
2, 1.
As the horn hits, closing out our first event of the weekend. 6 teams tie in terms of how many athletes cross the line. It should be Cape CrossFit unofficially that might take that event win, as they be hard-pressed to find anybody that had a faster split than they did, as they were sub-7 getting to the handstand walk. So they should take the event win. That is far from official, of course, but we did have 6 teams able to complete 3 of 4 athletes.
And it was great to see. We saw the Wolfpack doing really, really great, and there were a couple of other teams out there that did amazing, and they went really blistering fast through the overhead squats and onto the double unders, and I think a lot of them had that split time in mind as they did so. Once we got to the handstand walk, though, Cape CrossFit were on an absolute tear, doing great on the handstand walk throughout the first 3 athletes, having spent the one that they knew was going to be just a little bit more challenged by the handstand walk. Doing really, really great, but then they got caught up just a little bit with some of the other teams.
And that was our first of the athletes finishing for Cape CrossFit, and our heat winners are with Nikki Brazier.
Absolutely right. You guys were the first team able to get 3 people across the finish line. I know we've all been there too, waiting for that last person and just feeling so much fatigue, but still a great way to kick off the weekend here. Let me ask you, how did you decide what order you guys would go in terms of that handstand walk?
I think with a handstand walk, Vicky's just got her handstand walk, so we're really proud of her for making it this far with how she's progressed. So for us, the guys are always stronger. And yeah, the rest of us are all gymnasts. I think we did really well, and our setup was quite easy to decide.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. Now we have a lot of events still coming this weekend. Anything in particular that you're looking forward to? Or not looking forward to?
This one I think was going to be our worst one. So we're looking forward to the rest of the weekend, and we're really excited. We've got, Sunday definitely, and we've got an awesome team, so we're excited.
Well, a heat win for your worst event, I think, is a great way to start off the weekend. Nice job.
5 events remaining, 3 of which involving the worm. The first of those coming up in just a few moments with team event number 2.
Their body below their collarbones onto the bar at the same time, so that composition has to happen synchronized, otherwise they will not get credit for the rep. And at the bottom, both the athletes must have full extension of the arms. This does not have to be simultaneous, but they must come down to that full extension before going back up for the next rep.
Tenemos en la calle número 1 a los Mad Hunters. The Mad Dancers. Ya tenemos al primer equipo adelantado, Crossfit Alioth en la calle número 4, agarrando el gusano.
Lane 4, Crossfit Riviera, the first team onto the worm. This worm in total weighs 358 pounds, which equals to about 162 kilograms. There are 4 sections which weigh either 100 pounds or 70 pounds. After the team is finished with 5 repetitions of the worm clean and push press, they will advance the worm to the second section on the floor and perform their second set of 5 reps per each round on that second section.
Primeras 5 repeticiones de Canarias Team completadas. Ahora mismo se colocan en segunda posición, precedidos por Crossfit Alioth.
After that first event, overall leading the way was Team Crash. They took the event win and 100 points. After one event, holding on to the second place is CrossFit PBM Unite, and third place is CrossFit Valley Road.
Ya tenemos la leaderboard del primer evento de overhead squats, double unders y handstand walk. Tenemos a CrossFit Norte Redondela en octava posición con 68 puntos. CrossFit 77 Fit en onceava posición con 58 puntos. Tenemos CrossFit Las Rozas en 17ª posición con 46 puntos. Y 21-15-9 Team en 26ª posición con 28 puntos. Mientras el evento número 2 evoluciona y ya tenemos al equipo de Canarias Team en los chest to bar y la carrera.
The world record in this event number 2 is held by CrossFit Mayhem Freedom. That was set at the Central Regional at 15 minutes and 33 seconds. They were done with their first round in 3 minutes and 24 seconds, and the second round is 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Tenemos que destacar que es muy importante que los atletas mantengan sus pies dentro de la zona de trabajo, dentro de los recuadros. No importa que el gusano esté fuera, pero los pies de los atletas se tienen que mantener dentro de los recuadros todo el tiempo.
We're closing up on 9 minutes here in this team event number 2. 17-minute time cap, heat number 1. And right now in the lead, lane 4, CrossFit Alliance, white shirts, black shorts for this team from the UAE. We've got 2 more teams on that worm for the second time here. Lane number 7, Tonka, and lane 8, Canarias Team CF, working on that second round of 10 worm clean and push presses.
Hay que destacar que Canarias Team está optando por la estrategia de la coordinación. No les importa perder un poco de tiempo con tal de coordinarse bien, lo cual hace que les estén cantando pocas no reps. También hay que destacar que es importante, los atletas cuando hagan el push press tienen que tener las rodillas extendidas.
Lane 4, CrossFit Alliance done with their second round as they advance the worm and head back towards the assault runners, and that pull-up bar.
Con un time cap de 17 minutos, estamos a 6 minutos del final.
Lane 7 and 8 battling it out for second place, and right now Team Canarias moving their worm forward. That means after 2 rounds holding the lead still, CrossFit Riviera, second place Canarias Team SCF on lane 8, and now third place Tonka on lane 7.
Volvemos a repetir que el mejor tiempo de este evento se cumplió en los Central Regionals. CrossFit Mayhem Freedom con 15 minutos y 33 segundos.
If you're just now joining us, ladies and gentlemen, we're in Madrid at the Meridian Regional 2018, looking for the best 4 teams, male athletes and female athletes, to move on to the next phase of the competition in Madison, Wisconsin, to the CrossFit Games 2018. We are going through team event number 2 here. Heat number 1, 4 rounds for time, 200-meter run, 25 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups, and 10 worm clean and push presses.
Tres minutos para el time cap.
3 minutes.
Ya tenemos a CrossFit Alioth y Canarias Team que consiguen adelantar algunos pasos, ponerse a la par de Alioth.
Two minutes to go before the time cap, and CrossFit Riviera still in the lead. They're on their 3rd round of worm clean and push presses. It looks like they might be the team to set the score to beat here in this heat number 1. But also on lane A, Team Canarias is on that 3rd round of the worm. One minute to go, 1 minute before the time cap. Ladies and gentlemen, please help these athletes out. Make some noise, put your hands together.
Último minuto. Recordamos que Canarias Team coge ahora mismo la 21ª posición respecto al WOD anterior en la leaderboard con 38 puntos.
"30 seconds. Lane 4, CrossFit Riviera, trying to get a few more reps in here. "10 seconds.
Últimas repeticiones.
3, 2, 1. And that does it for heat number 1, CrossFit Riviera. Might have taken it, or it could be Canarias. It was a close battle all the way to the end here.
We have event number 2.
We do have event number 2, and I'm looking forward to seeing these teams get out there and get into a 200-meter run each in pairs, 25 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups each in pairs, and 10 worm, clean, and push presses. The time cap for the event is 17 minutes.
And this is an event that only 10 of 190 teams now have been able to beat the time cap on. And away we go with our second heat. Again, nobody able to finish. In fact, we had nobody finish 3 rounds of this event in heat number 1. It is proving to be a daunting task, not just for the teams here, but across the world.
It is, and once again, we're seeing the beauty of the programming and how the testing of these events really kind of brought forth an amazing test for athletic capacity. We're seeing people do really well. The athletes do really well on the run. They do really well on the pull-ups as well. They're communicating very well as well. But once they make it onto the worm, that's when the whole communication and the teamwork skills get into it.
Now we had 6 teams get through 3 of 4 athletes in the handstand walk. 3 of those teams are here in this heat, including Team White City will be in lane number 2, Valley Road will be in lane number 4, and Team Crash will be in lane number 5. Also in this heat, CrossFit TLV in lane 1, CrossFit 965 Kuwait in lane 3, CrossFit Take Control in lane 6, Kaizen CrossFit Lyon in lane 7, CrossFit Las Rosas in 8, CrossFit Cayenne in 9, and 2115-9 team in lane 10.
And obviously the teams that got off to a great start are going to look to fulfill this and come off this with a great first day, come back with some good emotions and some high spirits for tomorrow. But it's a completely different beast. They're going to need some different skills than they did in the past, and a lot of it is decided on the worm. The worm, if you work as a team and in unison, is a pretty easy instrument to navigate. However, if the communication is off just a little bit, you're not quite in sync, you may get a no rep, then you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble.
Final 5 reps for Las Rosas. One of a handful of teams that are going with same gender pairs, and this is something that we talked about in week 1, and it kind of caught us off guard, seeing some teams going mixed gender, as is CrossFit Cayenne in lane number 9. But over the past couple of weeks, we've seen that's actually been about a 50-50 split on that.
It is, and I mean, it's not really down to the gender. It's as much as it's about levers, and if it's not just levers, it's about the cycle time. You want to get athletes that are naturally pretty much in sync for the pull-ups, instead of going, we need to go guy, guy, girl, girl, because it doesn't really matter. What really matters is that sync is effortless, that making sure you knock out these reps and you don't get yourself in any kind of trouble.
And you can see a good look at the movement difference here. It was just that fluidity difference that we see on those reps, as we now have teams making their way to the worm for the first time in this heat. Kaizen CrossFit Lyon in lane 7 in the striped shirts on the left, CrossFit Las Rosas in all black on the right. The first 2 teams to the warm, they're now being joined by Team Crash and CrossFit Valley Road.
And this is where it gets kind of hard, because you just came off the pull-ups, you just came off the run, and you want to make sure that you maintain that lead or that position that you have, or you want to make a move. But this is where smooth is fast and fast is smooth. You want to make sure that you don't go out there and overexert yourself or get ahead of your teammates, because once you do, you get yourself in trouble. It's a no rep immediately. You're not in the right spot, you didn't stand all the way up, or maybe it wasn't a push press the way it's been programmed.
So look at Valley Road and Team Crash. They were pretty much simultaneously in 3rd to get to the worm, but the first team to make a break through rep number 5 and towards rep number 6, as indicated by advancing the worm on the floor, is CrossFit Valley Road. They'll advance that worm every time they complete the halfway point within a round. They'll do it again before they start the next round after they complete the 10th rep.
And it really comes down to whether you've had any kind of experience on the worm. And you can say you can tell that some of these teams have had worms to work on when they come in, because just the way they pull it up to the shoulders, the way they break for a second, make sure that everybody's in sync, push pressing it overhead and then bringing it down again. And when the worm hits the floor, it's not all crumbled up.
And again, this is something that we'll talk about a lot this weekend, and we said it at the start of the broadcast about the opportunity here. A lot of these teams getting the opportunity to be on the floor for the first time. 4 of the 30 teams in this competition were at regionals a year ago. So for 26 of them, unless they have a worm in their gym, this might be the first time they're getting their hands on this implement.
And I would strongly suggest that if you are in a box where you have team ambitions, get yourself a worm. You can't, I mean, it's just too late when you get here, unless you are an absolute, you're some kind of miracle. But you need 4 of those. It doesn't happen that often.
So on to round number 2 for our top 2 teams. They were 3rd and 4th to get to the worm, but the 1st and 2nd ones to make a break away from it, and 2 teams that had a successful opening event, as they'll be in the top 6 in the point standings after that first event.
And you're seeing slightly different techniques off the male and the female girl. It's just a kick, and the drive from the hip is a little bit different between the male and the female athlete. That being said, they hit the bar at the same pace, and that's where I think the levers, or just looking at how fast do you cycle your reps in the box, is going to decide who's on you, or how you pair people up.
The amazing thing about this, and not as common of a workout over here as I would imagine as it is back in the States where I'm from, but last week with Memorial Day back in the States, we had the workout Murph that a lot of gyms did, where you do 100 pull-ups as part of that. Here in the 2nd event, each of these athletes, along with the worm and along with the run, they're doing 100 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups with somebody else. It really puts into perspective the amount of work that's being put in to this 2nd event.
Oh, it definitely does, and just to let you know, and let everybody across the pond know as well, in all over Europe and all over this region, I think all of us got after Murph as well. It's an integral part of the community and who we are as a community, to support each other and pay homage to the people who made the ultimate sacrifice, and we sure did as well. But we didn't synchronize them. That's for sure. I'm happy I didn't have to synchronize my pull-ups with anybody and go chest to bar.
We have seen the switch for the lead pairs. Valley Road, their female athletes wearing the pink tops. It's the blue shirts for Team Crash.
You're seeing a couple of different techniques here as well. Some people are opting for a butterfly technique where you kind of propel your hip and you have a more an elliptical shape, and other teams are going more for a gymnastic hip, which is more of a half circle coming up to the bar and then pushing off it again. Once again, I'm pretty sure all these athletes have both techniques in the bank, but what you need to do as a pair is that you need to start talking about what do we feel more comfortable with? What are we sure that we can synchronize our reps with? So on the top right of your screen, you see the team that are breathing right now. With CrossFit Valley Road, they were doing the butterfly pull-ups, and the team to their immediate right in the red T-shirt, or in the red T-shirts here from Take Control CrossFit, they were doing more of a gymnastic kit. Like I said, nothing is right or wrong. It's all about playing your cards right, setting your team up for success, and avoiding no reps.
Final 5 reps for Team Crash as they make their way back up onto the pull-up bar. And they will find themselves in second place, as in lane number 8, CrossFit Las Rosas, continuing to have a very good split time when it comes to the pair portion, but it seems to be the worm that's giving them the difficulty, and that worm is where Team Crash took the lead the first round.
Now, I haven't had the privilege of talking to Las Rosas yet. I will do that a little bit later, but that's where it may be an issue that you haven't had access to it. I don't know if that's the case right now, but
it looks like that might be the case. Seems like they're trying to, they have that difficulty getting in unison with the worm. We're seeing a heavy slack in the worm at a couple points. Meanwhile, for Team Crash in the blue shirts, that worm moving in unison every time they do a rep. They're looking very stable with it, keeping that very flat.
And that's exactly what you want to do. It's not just that you get the no reps, it's also just all the energy expended of bringing that thing up to your shoulders and then finding out it was a no rep or somebody didn't quite get in sync. It's just, it costs so much energy.
Again, we had no team complete round number 3 the first time through. Here in heat number 2, we'll see if we can have that happen.
I like what I'm seeing here from Valley CrossFit as well. Team Crash are doing a great job of synchronizing and working as a team. And as I said that, I think I just jinxed the Valley Road CrossFit team. But they've been doing the same thing, just methodically moving through the reps, and I like to see that.
Now, part of that came on the unison. I believe I also saw somebody bend their knees. Remember, it is a push press. Any other form, if it's a push jerk, that's going to be called a no rep, and they'll have to redo that. Here in lane number 6, CrossFit Take Control. They hold the second position as Team Crash will move ahead, and it's only by a couple of seconds as we're just past the 10-minute mark. So halfway through the work component of this event. We're still beyond halfway in the time component as we work our way for the leaders into round number 3. In pairs, they'll split up on a 200-meter run each, while pair 2 does 25 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups each. Then they'll flip, where pair A will move to the bar, pair B will move to the runner, and then as a team they'll do 10 worm, clean, and push presses.
And it's impressive to see Team Crash because, as you alluded to, they weren't the fastest team on the run or the pull-ups, but they kind of made everything up when they were back on the worm. And that may be a great strategy to start out a little bit slower, make sure you don't get any missed reps, and then increase speed as you go. Whereas you're going to see a lot of other teams are going to drop off speed as they get a little further into the event.
Now, one thing I'm curious about, because not a lot of people get to experience the synchronization portion of this movement, is, yes, you're having to time it, but also somebody's got to kind of have an eye on the other person, so they're having to rotate their head. How does that change the movement pattern if you have that slight twist?
Initially, what usually happens is that you start twisting your entire body towards that person you're looking at. Then with a little bit more teamwork and a little bit more exposure to it, you're actually going to start seeing people tilt their head not quite as much, and that just in the peripheral vision, looking at where people are at, and that's going to save you a lot of energy. Other people just adapt the technique so that you can twist the entire head and you're still good to go. But most people, it'll just be a peripheral vision, and the one dictating the pace or the one looking has to be the one who feels most comfortable with the pull-up and is able to shift gears and go faster or slower to mimic the other person's movement pattern.
Meanwhile, if you're on the runner, you're just kind of keeping an eye on the pace on the pull-ups and knowing if you need to move faster or slower. That's almost just like the busy work portion of this event.
It is. I mean, it's all about making sure that you don't, the guys who did the pull-ups don't have to wait for you. But you need to, as we talked about, this is, and I'm going to say this again and again and again, it's all about setting yourself up for success where you could find yourself at a roadblock.
Eight of our 10 teams here in the heat working on round number 3. So we just had 2 teams complete the second round a moment ago. But out in front, Team Crash and CrossFit take control in terms of who got to round number 3. Going to have the switch underway for CrossFit Las Rosas.
And here you see exactly what we talked about, Brendan. The one athlete on the right side of your screen is making sure that he's keeping the pace of the other guy. And the other guy, all he has to do is just basically make sure they jump to the bars at the same time. Communication and transition is the way to win any team event. Obviously, a lot of athletic prowess as well.
Little less than 4 minutes until our 17-minute time cap. Do have a couple of teams in position to potentially reach round number 4. If we do that here in this heat, whoever wins this heat will be the leader with 1 heat remaining.
And I'm interested to see whether what we talked about a little bit earlier, if somebody saved a little bit for a sprint to try to go out there and decisively put themselves ahead. I mean, we do have another heat coming up, so these athletes aren't just these teams aren't just competing with athletes in this heat. There have been prior heats, and there's a heat afterwards as well.
And that pacing was something that happened a week ago with the event record. CrossFit Mayhem Freedom was there to see that one in person, and they got faster as that event went. And especially compared to the field, where it was really that typical Rich Froning style of just holding that 90% pace the entire way through, and 90% in the end is faster than 70% for those that came out a little too hot. As CrossFit Las Rosas, once again, fastest split on the pair portion, and they get to the worm for the 3rd time, holding about an 8-second advantage over Team Crash. Las Rosas out of right here in Madrid. Team Crash out of Rishon LeZion, Israel.
We're seeing the Crash team as well addressing the worm, and they did great on the worm the last time around. We're going to see if they can hold on to that, or if they're going to increase that pace.
Also in 3rd place, right side of the screen, on the very far right side, is CrossFit Take Control out of Wissou, France.
And as the crowds are starting to fill up, you know that Las Rosas are feeling the love from the audience as well. You can hear them starting to cheer. More people are coming in, and I mean, being a local team, they've got all their friends in the stands.
Simultaneously advancing the worm after 5 of 10 reps will be Crash and Las Rosas, and also Take Control right there with them. And Take Control is going to move into the lead with a touch-and-go strategy.
That's smart. If you can make sure that everybody's on the same page, then that is smart. Resting on the shoulder, making sure the rep's good, just touching it off the ground.
Only got to hang on for 90 more seconds in this event until that 17-minute time cap. Again, no team in heat number 1 able to break past the 3rd round. If anybody can do that here, they will be the leader with 1 heat remaining. Team Crash gonna have to make sure their feet don't leave that lane. They were dangerous of that a couple of times, as Take Control will be our first team here today to advance to round number 4 with 1 minute remaining. Team Crash is gonna be right behind them, a 7-second lead. And another couple of seconds behind them will be Las Rosas, as we're into the final 45 seconds. And I would say don't count Las Rosas out of this, because they've been the fastest team when it comes to the pair portion of this event.
They've executed that part brilliantly. They've been struggling a little bit on the worm, though, but I mean, considering we've only got 30 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about that anymore. Final 20 seconds. At this point, it's just time to hang on to that bar.
Ideally, don't jump off.
Oh, with 10 seconds to go, and you can see that communication and no, get right back up there. Final couple of seconds. I believe all 25 reps were completed for Crash, if I saw that judge's indication correctly, and if so, I believe they've taken the heat win. That again, I'll use this term a lot when we have these time caps hit. Far from official.
It was amazing to see Team Crash being able to hold on for the last 25. I mean, every inch of your body wants to jump off and just take a breather, but there's no way.
If they did hold on, that was 25 synchro in about 45 seconds to close out this event, and that would be very impressive to move into the lead. Time for our final heat of day number 1 in team competition, as it's heat number 3 of 3 in team event number 2 at the Kaha Mahika. Brandon and Mads and Nikki with you, as it's time for this last heat of this kind of triplet event.
It is. Event number 2 is 4 rounds for time of 200-meter run, each in pairs, followed by 25 synchro chest to bar pull-ups, each in pairs. Then on to 10 worm, clean, and push press as a team. The time cap is 17 minutes.
And here in our third and final heat, it will be our top 10 teams coming out of the open. And that includes one team that had a very strong showing in event number 1 in lane number 7, Cape CrossFit Wolfpack.
Very promising. It's going to be interesting to see how they maneuver the worm. I have a feeling that they're going to be doing very, very well with that as well.
And away we go with our third and final heat. Again, we have yet to have a team beat the time cap. That is not a surprise when looking at it, as we're now at 10 of 198 teams in the world have been able to achieve this event in under 17 minutes, as we had one in the Pacific Regional earlier today. Our top teams were still in that first pairing on the 4th round in heat number 2.
And we talked about it before. It's a beautifully composed event right here that really tests both communication skills, transition skills, and brute power as well. And I love that about the event. You know that they've all been tested, and this is exactly what we're looking for.
And really, you think about it, we started with event number 1 where everything was individualized, as it was those double relays to start the day. There was a little bit of order placement and communication there, of course. But here in the second event, we're working in pairs and as a complete team.
And there are so many ways that you can kind of do the math behind this to make sure you're setting yourself up for success. So are you going to try to be fast on the run and the pull-ups, and then just kind of methodically move through the cleans and the push presses on the worm, or are you going to take it easy on easier on the chest to bar pull-ups and the run, and then make a move on the worm?
Switch has happened from pair 1 to pair 2 for every team on the floor, as CrossFit Galileo makes that switch.
And you're going to see some teams go for a lot bigger chunks of reps. They're going to try to do everything they can to go a little bit further. Other teams are going to opt for 5, 10 reps, then get off the bar just to reset themselves. There's none of that is like right or wrong, and you can't say that this is the right or the wrong thing to do. It's all about what is the plan for the overall event, but also as athletes, what do you feel more comfortable with? You don't want to get anybody in deep water too soon. And for some of these athletes, it will also be the first time that they're on the assault runner, which is a slightly different beast as well than running outside. And we're going to be talking a lot about that a little bit later. But it's just a lot of an unknown that kind of gets into this. These athletes haven't necessarily been to regionals before. They haven't been in an event like this. The logistics of what it is they need to do, not just the work, may be new to a lot of them. There are a lot of challenges.
First team to the worm is going to be in red and black when it comes to the color of the shorts. That's Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. They do come into this event as the points leaders, as we have had the official results for that. Just to update you as we get to the worm for the first time, it is Cape CrossFit in first, Team White City from heat number 2 in second, Galileo in third, Valley Road also from heat number 2 in fourth, and PBM Unite, who's in lane number 6 here in this heat, rounding out our top 5 in the official standings after event number 1.
And Cape CrossFit doing good on the worm right here. Still talking to each other, maintaining good communications, making sure that they don't drop the worm before they've gotten the rep from the judge. It's very smart.
Cape CrossFit in first, the black and red shorts. In second place, it is CrossFit Norte Redondela. That sounds familiar from event number 1. CrossFit 77 feet, rounding out our current top 3 as we work past the midway point of the worm portion of round number 1.
And this is where we see, wow, impressive. So Norte Redondela and the Wolfpack making their way back at the same time. Now the Wolfpack were a little bit faster on the first round. What we need to see now is if they're going to be able to do that again, or if Norte Redondela came off to a slow start and then start increasing pace. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that from them.
And this is where we see that strategy mix where it comes to your pairing split. We have same gender pairing for Cape CrossFit, mixed gender pairing for Norte Redondela.
And as we talked about, Brendan, I'm not surprised to see that. I think it's more as a coach and as an athlete, I want to make sure that I don't have to spend too much energy trying to be in sync with my partner on this. So looking at, you know, who's got the same cycle time, pairing up a strong athlete with a slightly less comfortable athlete on the pull-ups, just so that you don't have 2 strong athletes and then 2 weaker athletes at that particular movement fighting it out.
Pull-ups already completed for Cape CrossFit, and this is one of those rare moments where we're seeing the run take longer than the pull-ups.
We have not seen that in the past, and it's not. I'm pretty sure that these athletes will have known that for this to happen at home. If you've got 2 athletes that are just incredibly fast on the pull-ups, then that is going to happen. And at the same time, you don't want to stress the runners either. So if you're on the run and you've got a little bit left on the run and the other pair gets off the pull-ups, don't stress it. Just keep your pace, keep trucking, save the sprint for last.
Eight of the 10 teams here in this heat are through round number 1, working on round number 2. 3 of the teams have already made the first pair switch into the second pairing of either run or synchro chest bar pull-ups. Your leaders are here on the screen. On the left, Cape CrossFit. On the right, Norte Redondela.
And Norte Redondela were very, very fast when they got to the worm. I was really impressed to see them do that. They did great in the first event, obviously, but that's never a given. That doesn't really give you anything for the next event. But it seems like communication and making sure that they can stick to a good strategy is going to be their hallmark.
CrossFit Riviera make the switch. Beers, cheese, and red wine. I'm going to bring them up just because I want to bring up that team name.
I mean, how can you not love a team name like that? I mean, there are a lot of reasons to like it. They made it to regionals and they have a cool name.
I see 3 reasons to like that team name. As we get to the 7-minute mark in this 17-minute time cap event, Cape CrossFit Wolfpack back onto the worm. It's in round number 2, and just to put this into perspective, the event record pace about 45 seconds quicker than the lead pace here in our 3rd heat, which just shows how impressive those times were in the Central Regional last week. But we're seeing some solid times here for Cape CrossFit and Norte Redondela, as Cape CrossFit already through the 5th of 10 reps here in round number 2. And there is more people like us and probably a lot closer to the team than we are. We like the name. They like the team. Also the team name, Beer, Cheese, and Red Wine, with their fan club here.
And if there's one thing we know, anytime there is an event in Caja Mágica, is that we are going to get an amazing crowd. And these guys up there for the Beer, Cheese, and Red Wine have not been quiet since they got here, and I don't think they will be for the rest of the weekend.
CrossFit Riviera will be our 3rd place team, making their way to the worm, but out in front, completing round number 2 at under the 8-minute mark, is Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. And pacing-wise, they're on pace to possibly finish this in under the 17-minute time cap if they can hold this speed for the final 2 rounds.
And I think I hope they're going to be able to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing how the ladies do on the pull-ups here again, because they were blistering fast on the last ones.
And this pace as well is about 2 minutes quicker than what we saw from our top teams in heat number 2, where we had 4 teams into the 4th round, 3 that were deep into the first pairing.
And as they talked about in the interview with Nikki Brazier as well, they're gymnasts. So the pull-ups may not necessarily be a problem, depending on what kind of gymnastics you did, obviously, but it does look like they feel pretty comfortable on the pull-up rack.
So while here there is no time to beat thus far through our first 2 heats, if you're curious, that event record that I mentioned a moment ago, set by Shocker, CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, 1 week ago in Nashville, 15 minutes, 33.7 seconds. As we are into the back half of the work component for our leaders, Cape CrossFit. They're the only team thus far into the 3rd round, and it's going to be a 1-minute lead over CrossFit Riviera, who will move into the 2nd position. They're in the blue shirts for their male athletes, as they will go back to the rig to start the 3rd round of 4 in a 200-meter run for 1 pair of athletes, a 25 synchro chest-to-bar pull-up portion for another pair. They'll switch, and then when both pairings are done with each part of that, they'll all work on 10 worm, clean, and push presses together.
And this is where you know that the Wolfpack are looking around and they're seeing that they've got a pretty substantial lead, but at the same time, they can't let off the gas. They need to just keep on going, sticking to their game plan as well.
So Cape CrossFit in first by over a minute over the rest of the field. CrossFit Riviera in second. Right behind them will be Norte Redondela and PBM Unite.
17-minute time cap, and no team has yet finished this team event 2 here at the Meridian Regional.
This is CrossFit Riviera, the lone Swiss team in this lead battle of 4. We have a team from Switzerland, 2 from South Africa, and 1 from Spain in our top 4.
So the international contingency continues.
Riviera, this is something that I've noticed throughout this event is the synchronization has been lacking for both pairs, really, when it comes to these chest to bars. They can start strong, but over the first few reps, they'll start to kind of fade on that synchronization.
And one of the things that happens is that you get onto the pull-ups and you may have gone a little bit too fast on the run, so you're a little bit overexerted, which means that you fall back into your pace, not the team pace.
But already back to the worm in round number 3 is Cape CrossFit Wolfpack, as they continue to be on pace to be our first team here today to finish this event. And if so, they would be the 11th team in the world out of the first 6 regionals to have this event. We're going to not include the Latin American region, as they had the modified event.
And they're still just moving methodically through this. I mean, their cycle time is pretty much the same now as it was when they first approached the worm, which is a pretty good sign that they've either had a worm to practice this on or an object a lot like the worm.
And they are one of 4 teams in this field of 30 that were here at regionals 1 year ago, the 24th place finishers in 2017. The only other team in this heat to do that is CrossFit Turicum, who finished 17th last year.
And a lot of these teams, I mean, when we've spoken to them, they had these outings before and they said it was a learning experience to be on the regional floor. They got back and then just got right back to work, putting a team together and then making sure that all the things that they learned were put to good use.
Second place team right side of the screen, CrossFit Riviera, they've made the switch and they actually broke off a good set of about 10 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups there to start that 25. But they can look down the floor and see well ahead of them is Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. The point leaders after event number 1 look to be expanding on that lead as they now start of round number 4 with 4 minutes, 15 seconds remaining until the time cap. They're going to have to hurry if they want to beat that time cap, but they don't necessarily need to as they have a pretty healthy lead here in this one.
They do, but at the same time, it's an awkward situation because at one point, one part of you always wants to finish the event. At the same time, they know what they have to measure themselves against, being the last heat out here. I would love for them, since it is the last event of the day, I'd love for them to go out there and just put everything on the line. Just see how far can we get, where are we at.
Keep in mind, clubhouse lead through our first 2 heats is right about 25 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups. We believe that that was the score based on the judges' mannerisms. 1 heat to go for Team Crash.
And I just want to add another one of the reasons why you may want to go as hard as you can is that, you know, at the end of this, if you are fortunate enough, you get to go to the CrossFit Games in Madison, where you will be meeting all these other teams. And so if you let off now, you don't know how you stack up against those teams.
So once this pairing switches for Cape CrossFit, they will have themselves in the lead, and it's going to be whoever wins this heat wins the event. And it almost feels like they've gone into a little bit of a slower pace, knowing that everybody else is still on the worm in round number 3, and they've got a good margin ahead of them.
It does look like the guys are taking it easy on the run. The girls just finished up their pull-ups right now, and they have been notoriously fast on the pull-ups every single round.
Final few meters for their second male athlete on the run, as in second place, it's CrossFit PBM Unite. Third place will be CrossFit Riviera. Norte Redondela is in 4th. So here's PBM Unite, the team that finished 5th place in event number 1. Riviera was your 8th place finisher in the first event today. But the point leaders have made the switch, and they're in prime position to take back-to-back event wins to start the weekend, as we're 2 minutes away from our 17-minute time cap to close out the first day of team competition.
Well, they did say the first event was their worst event, so I mean...
That's scary if you win the worst event that you're going to have.
You know that they're going to get back to the hotel or the apartment tonight, and they're going to be pretty happy with the outing now and setting them up very well for day 2.
PBM Unite will be our second team into round number 4. Riviera will be the third team into round 4. And they'll have 90 seconds to get into that pairing switch. Again, if you do that, you've beaten every score that happened in the first 2 heats.
This is when they have to go back there and then just throw everything on the line. If there's anything left in that tank, then go for it now.
Now, one thing that we're noticing here is the female athletes had a little struggle with the synchronization. They're going to go to the runner first. That switch can happen. This is a smart move because the guys were breaking off bigger sets in synchronization with each other.
Exactly, and you know that that's what they talked about on the way back, and they probably had a contingency plan walking in here.
Now the race is, will Cape CrossFit beat the time cap? 50 seconds until then. They made their way to the worm. It's going to be a tall task if they can get in under 17 minutes, but they got a shot.
But they're going to have to go touch and go if they want to go.
And that's not a risk that they need to take, or it's not a pace that they need to take, as nobody else will get to the worm in the final 30 seconds. At this point, they just know that they've got the second consecutive event win to start the weekend of competition here in the Meridian.
And they do look really, really good. And as you say, there's no reason why they'd have to go out there and go any faster than what they're doing. Last 10 seconds.
We'll have 6 teams here in this heat make it to the final round as our final seconds of team competition in day number 1 close. It's 2 events, 200 points for Cape CrossFit Wolfpack. And in a race where only 4 teams will advance to Madison, every point's going to matter just a little bit more than you'll see in most other regionals, where all but one other has 5, and Cape CrossFit Wolfpack off to a fantastic start that obviously could not go any better.
Now they've got to be really, really happy with what they did. Obviously, coming into this, they feel good. They know they had a plan, but then again, you never know what happens once you get out there. It's like the famous quote, everybody has a plan until you get hit in the head. And once you get out there, that is the proverbially hit in the head, but they did very, very well indeed. And they're setting themselves up, like we said, there are only 4 places, there are only 4 spots to compete for, so you really can't have a bad outing. If you do, you're going to get run by or passed by everybody else.
The teams are officially done, but they got to move the worms back. And until we can hear from our winning team, let's take a look at the highlights.
And so the highlights, basically, it was all about the Wolfpack from the start, methodically moving through both the pull-ups and the run. But once they made it onto the worm, it was their speed and decisiveness that kind of got them in a good spot. Ladies did great on the run, even better on the pull-ups, and the guys didn't drop a beat on the pull-ups either, synchronizing well, communicating well, and that's really what got them to the spot where they could finish off so far ahead of everybody else.
2 events, 2 event wins. 2 times we're going to hear from CrossFit Wolfpack as they're with Nikki Brazier.
Okay, guys, we saw you go farther than any other team today, and that sets you up for 2 back-to-back heat wins. What a way to start off your weekend. Last time we talked, you told us that you were gymnasts, so we knew the pull-ups were going to be no problem, but the worm, we've seen a lot of separation on. How were you able to prepare for that?
We have quite an interesting worm at home. We've basically taken a bunch of sandbags together, and the weight is always awkward, and we learned to deal with that really well. And we thought if we could attack that hard, this would be better. So worked hard in training with something awkward, and we came in here and we executed well, so we're happy.
Obviously sitting in a great spot with those 2 wins. Does it change the way you think about going into day 2, knowing you're at the top of the leaderboard?
No, we're very focused on each workout as it comes. We try not to look too far ahead and kind of lose what ground there still has to be made. So we're just taking it one step at a time and trying to enjoy it as much as we can as well. Yeah.
Great day 1, guys. Nice work.
A perfect day 1 for Cape CrossFit Wolfpack as they take the first 2 events of our competition where only 4 will advance. So the teams are done for the opening day. The individuals still have to start day number 1 as we have individual men's event number 1 coming up in a few moments.